My 24 female sister, 26 female, called me and asked if she could stay the week as she missed me and we're both free. I said yes, because I did miss her. We're both college students. She's in her final year, and I'm in my second year. We live in different states. My sister came down and slept on my couch as I have a one-bedroom apartment. Monday and Tuesday were great. We went out together, did some shopping, and had some sisterly time. Wednesday came, and I had to go to work. I asked her if she's all right staying in the apartment by herself, and she said yes. Whilst on my lunch break, I was searching for my credit card. My backpack has a specific section that's hidden away where I put my valuables in, such as my cell phone, wallet, and keys, etc. I searched, and my wallet wasn't there. I texted my sister and asked if she'd seen my wallet. She replied no, and said she'd look for it. I have Apple Pay, so I could still purchase some lunch. I got home. She said she found it on top of my sock drawer. I was suspicious, as I went in there yesterday morning and knew it wasn't in there. When I got home, I logged into online banking. I saw a total of $1,545.32 had been withdrawn across 2 accounts. I had strong suspicions that it was my sister, and told her I'm calling the police, as someone's withdrawn money from my accounts. It didn't take long for her to confess that she took my wallet and used the money. My sister is a golden child who's never in trouble. I was sick and tired of her getting away with everything. Not only that, it's money I can't afford to lose. I told her I'm calling the police, and I want to press charges. My sister kept crying, screaming, and begging not to call the police, as she would have my money in 24 hours' time. As I was speaking to the dispatcher on the phone, my sister was trying to grab the phone from my hand. After she failed, she ran to the room, called our parents, and whilst on the phone to 911, my parents were constantly trying to call me. As soon as I hung up, within 1 second they called back. The dispatcher said they were sending a police officer out to my address. As I hung up and waited for the dispatcher to arrive, I saw 30 missed calls from my parents. I turned my phone off till the officer got here, as they kept calling. The officer arrived and detained my sister. They took down my statement and I showed them my evidence. They said because she stole $1,500, it's a felony, and they will be charging her. I called my parents after to explain the situation. They shouted at me over the phone, telling me I shouldn't have called the police, as they would have paid it back within an hour, and that I've ruined her life. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. And if she is such a golden child, as you say, it is time she learns the world will not bend over backwards for her to get out of trouble for her mistakes. She stole from you. That is a felony, and she's going to have to face the consequences of her actions. Your parents saying they would have paid within the hour just proves they're enabling her entitlement and are not willing to make her understand what she did was wrong. This is obviously going to put a strain on your relationship with all of them, but it is a lesson that needed to be enforced. This is not a mistake. Your sister is a thief and a felon. Stealing from family is particularly reprehensible. She knows how it will affect you. Your parents are facilitating. Who knows what else she's done to people that matter less to her than her own sister? She's old enough to understand exactly what she was doing to you. She needs to see some jail time. Not the a-hole. Your parents have fixed everything the golden child has done up till now, and they're mad you didn't let them try to fix this first. But guess what? Not everything can be fixed. Not everything should be fixed. That your sis would use some story about missing you so that she could come steal from you is both astounding and kinda sad. Throw the ducking book at her. Maybe she didn't learn in her 24 years that her actions have consequences. But now that she has ducked around, let her find out. So, I recently found out I'm pregnant after a little less than a year of trying for a baby. Our family knew in recent months that we were trying, but having a little difficulty waiting, although doctors assured us it was still a matter of time and nothing out of the normal range. Anyways, a month ago, my sister-in-law announced to our big family group chat that she was going to cast a master-level fertility spell for us to help with our conception. It was super weird to me because no one asked her to do this, but she's a self-proclaimed lifetime Wiccan, and apparently she carries quite a bit of clout in her local witch community. She said the spell she was doing for us would cost a lot of money if she was charging like normal. At the time, I just said something like, "Thanks for thinking of us." Not much else. Around a week ago, I found out that I'm pregnant. It's been a super happy time, and our extended family has been so supportive. One thing that continues to bother me is how much sister-in-law has passive-aggressively insisted that her spell worked, and was solely responsible for my pregnancy. I get that those are her beliefs, but it's weirding me out how much she wants me to acknowledge and validate her spells and magic stuff. I haven't said anything to her in the family chat, but I've heard from my husband that she's been talking crap behind my back, calling me ungrateful and rude for not even mentioning her spells when I was thanking family for their support. Am I the a-hole if I continue to ignore her? I'm thankful she took effort out to support us, but I don't want to be like, yes, your fertility spell was responsible for our pregnancy. Thanks so much. I don't even believe in witchcraft, so I don't know why I should claim so in front of everyone. My husband thinks I don't owe her anything, but I've been feeling bad inside. Am I the a-hole? Edit. When we first found out, I thanked everyone for sending good thoughts our way and giving us emotional support and encouragement when we needed it most. I did not, however, specifically mention the spell. I just thanked everyone for being supportive. I've been Wiccan for decades. This is rubbing me the wrong way. I personally have no issue if someone is legit experienced and wants to charge for that experience. But I seriously don't know what a master-level fertility spell would be, other than one cast by someone of said experience. I also don't like the fact that she told you she was going to do this, rather than asking you if it was something you wanted. While your thanks could be construed as consent, it still seems pretty high-handed, and consent for even beneficial spells is typically considered important. The whole thing just comes off as pretentious. And while it's absolutely a small minority, there is definitely a subset of people who basically think that they're hot stuff because they are in charge of a coven and have been initiated to the nth degree. Most of the Wiccan pagan community is not like that, which is one of the things I like about it. But much like Christian evangelists who are convinced that they have a more direct channel to God than anyone else, they do exist. So, in short, if you don't owe her anything, a general group thanks for support seems perfectly reasonable to me. Not the a-hole. Maybe she should cast an appreciation spell on you. Not the a-hole. It's great she thought of you, but that's as much credit as she gets. And her passive-aggressively suggesting anything more than that is insane. Not the a-hole. She should get as much credit as any other I'll pray for you person gets. Years ago, I had an affair with a married man. He told me he was getting a divorce, which is the oldest trick in the book, but I bought it. He only confessed he planned on staying with his wife when I got pregnant, and I told him to get the duck out. To this day, despite me pushing for him to see her, he's only interacted with our 10-year-old daughter Lily less than 10 times in her entire life. He has another kid, also 10, also a girl, Rose, and she's in the same class as Lily. The kids are about 6 months apart in age. His wife knows about me and about Lily, but we've only spoken once, before I got pregnant. I'm married now, and my wife has adopted Lily. He allowed the adoption, so he's not paying child support and has no legal rights to her. And Lily has mine and my wife's married name. We double-barreled our surnames. I realized back in reception, Lily's first year when she was 4 or 5, that Rose was in her class, so I actually tried to get Lily switched to the other class in her year group. I explained the situation, but the school said that classes were full. But if someone in the other class asked to switch, then they'd swap them with Lily. 5 years later, Lily is still in the same class as Rose. Also in that class is Rose's cousin, who's related to her through the dad, so that boy is also Lily's cousin. Rose and the cousin have always been friends, having grown up together, and in the last year or so, they've also begun a friendship with my daughter. I didn't know what to do at first, but I ultimately decided to discourage the friendship. I didn't do anything awful, just, well, you could have Rose over for a sleepover, but aren't you better friends with this other kid? Why not invite them instead? I also messaged my ex, saying something like, Rose and Lily have become friends, so what do we want to do about it? But he never replied. Clearly, I didn't do enough, and it doesn't sound like my ex did anything, because my ex-wife has now contacted me saying she's found out our kids are friends. They've been communicating through the online schooling platform, which shows full names and the wife saw. And I need to do something about it ASAP. I asked what exactly I meant to do about it, and the wife said that she wants me to ban Lily from seeing Rose and the cousin. If Lily sees them anyway, I'm expected to punish her. I told her no way is that happening, and that we should just tell the truth, which I've been saying for a decade now. But she said no, it's on me and me alone, so keep Lily away from Rose at all costs. I think I might be the a-hole because I've already ducked up their family and marriage enough. I'd be causing drama for the sake of it, as they don't want the girls interacting, And maybe keeping the kids apart is the better option here. They won't let me tell the girls the truth. And my wife pointed out that years from now, if they find out somehow about the genetic link, then it will probably be way worse for them if they've been best friends the whole time versus if they knew each other briefly at school and were friendly. But there was more separation there than with best friends. Am I the a-hole for refusing to keep Lily away from her half-sister and cousin? Oh, this is just an utter mess. Everyone sucks here except the children. You are all hiding it. Even if you want to tell the truth, you haven't, so you are as guilty as them on that one. Discouraging friendships as well at such an early age is horrible. Yeah, everyone sucks here big time. Not the a-hole. Your ex is an a-hole. Your ex's wife is being irrational. I would sit Lily down and tell her everything and let her decide what to do. Rose's parents will do whatever they want as well. You doing this preemptively will hopefully allow Lily to process the situation if and when Rose's mother does something irrational. It would be best if both you and your ex and his wife did this together, but I don't see that happening. Not the a-hole, not your problem, and not your fault she stayed with a man who cheated on her. He is certainly the biggest a-hole, but if the kids want to be friends, it is not your job to punish them for his sins. So me, female 32, and my sister, female 28, share the same father but not the mother, practically making us half-sisters. I never really knew her existence until when I was 25, and until my father confessed to keeping my half-sister a secret. I was honestly really ecstatic, since I've been an only child who always wanted a sibling. I found out that I had nieces and a nephew. I always had difficulty to conceive, and my relationships never last long, so I was super excited thinking about meeting them. When I reached out to my half-sister and her kids, I was ignored and left on red for a couple of months, till I asked my dad about it. She told me that she doesn't want us to be part of her kid's life, doesn't acknowledge me as a sister, and she also told me that I should give up trying to contact her or her family, since her family has the same opinion towards us. I was shocked at her hostile reply, but I understood her deep down and respected her wishes. None of us ever contacted each other, excluding her and our dad's few interactions, but both of us minded each other's business. Until recently, she reached out to me saying that she wanted to put our past behind us and to catch up. It was surprising due to the sudden attitude change, but she quickly went straight to the point and asked me for money. She broke up with her boyfriend, she went into debt, and her kids really needed the money. I pitied her situation and blindly hoped that both of us can fix both of our relationship and send her the money she needed. She then cut all contact with me again and never talked to me, till she basically showed up at my house with luggage and demanding for me to take her and her kids in. She told me that because I had a high-paying job, single and lives alone, I wouldn't mind letting her and her kids stay, since she became homeless and doesn't have anyone else to go to. I was still bitter and angry about her ignoring me after getting the money, so I snapped and told her that she shouldn't kiss my butt when she needed my help and abandoned me right after. I was done with her and her kids and kicked her out of my property. She then spread rumors about me to my family and friends. About her getting my address. She contacted our dad since she couldn't contact me and asked about my address. She told our dad that we reconciled and she was planning to surprise me by showing up to my house. Our dad told me that I ruined the perfect chance to resolve our differences and that I was being petty and childish. My mom told me that I shouldn't have kicked her and her kids out of the house just after arriving and that I should have thought about her situation. Due to that, I felt really bad. Am I really the a-hole here? Absolutely not the a-hole. You're completely right that she's just using you, and I would bet that after they moved in, they wouldn't be leaving anytime soon. Your dad and her mom are more than welcome to look after and shelter them, and it's not at all petty to not want to suddenly live with a bunch of strangers. You tried to help her before, and she showed her true colors. You've learned your lesson and won't make that mistake again. You're not responsible for her poor life choices, and again, your dad should be the one helping her out if anyone does. Not the a-hole. She is using you, OP. She pretended to be a part of your life because she knew you longed for it deeply, and she used that to get you to give her things. Thank God you kicked her out because she would have been leeching from you, manipulating you into thinking she actually wanted to build a relationship. She lied to your family. You should tell them straight that she's been asking for money and that she came uninvited and demanded, not asked, demanded that she move in. She wasn't polite. She wasn't nice about it. She basically turned around and said, "You're doing better than me. Therefore, you're obligated to help me." Basically, my marriage of 15 years has finally ended when I got tired of my husband's cheating, emotional and gaslighting. The last straw was when he was fired from his job as a hotel GM for taking up with a staff member 25 years his junior. He's 52, she is 26. After being fired, I filed for divorce, and he moved out and took a job in another city. We have one child, my son, who just turned 14. Though I have full custody, he has always worshipped his father. Ironically, probably because his father was never around, working super long hours, and so craved his attention and approval. And he blames me for the divorce. Recently, he has directed all of his anger about the divorce at me, yelling and cursing at me, and blaming me as the cause of our broken family. He asked what his father had supposedly done for me to file for divorce. His father has told his son that he didn't want a divorce and that mom is crazy. I told my son that I had my reasons, but he didn't need to know them. All that mattered is that we both loved him and needed to be apart because we were making each other miserable. This wasn't enough for him, so he kept pressing me. Finally, in desperation, and because I felt it was inevitable to live with my son if he thought I was the one who drove his father away, I told him the divorce was his father's doing, that he had been unfaithful. My son asked for proof. I said he had to take my word for it, and he called me a liar, and said that his dad was right. I was just crazy and vindictive. So I asked if he really wanted to see the evidence, and he said yes. So I showed him pictures of his father and his young staff member dancing together, a birthday card he had received from her that I had found, and other similar items. Nothing racy or but tokens of affection and pictures of them together from her social media. Since then, my son has been withdrawn and refuses to speak with me. Am I the a-hole for showing him the truth about his father? Or should I have kept it a secret, even though his perception of events was damaging my relationship with him? Not the a-hole. I'm very much against involving children in the adult's problems, but your husband forced your hand by calling you crazy and blaming you for the divorce. Not the a-hole. If his father hadn't painted you as the bad guy, it wouldn't have been necessary in the first place. I don't like the idea of involving a kid in something that he probably has a hard time understanding. But I also don't think allowing your reputation with your son to burn quietly in the background is worth protecting him from parts of life that he's going to become familiar with in a few short years anyways. I also don't think you did it to spite the father. This sounds like you were just defending your reputation, not the a-hole. So, my wife has a friend from childhood named Anthony. I'm being completely honest here when I say that he and I don't get along. It's not like he is rude or disrespectful, nothing like that. But all I feel towards him is annoyance, so to speak, because of how much my wife sees him. He lives alone and now suffers from a medical condition, cancer, that requires him to go to the hospital regularly to receive treatment. I found out that my wife promised to go with him to his every chemo treatment as support. She said it's a commitment she made to be there for him during this rough time, since he has no one else besides him. Okay, I had no issue with that at first, but then this started affecting me. Example, I can't go see my friends because I have to stay with my son on X day so my wife could be with Anthony for his treatment, etc., etc. I've talked to her about it, but she said that Anthony needs company and that she's just being supportive, and this is when he needs her the most. I let it go last week, but just kind of my last straw. Anthony had another chemo session treatment and my wife wanted to go with him and asked me to stay home with our son. I told her I had to meet up with my mom and sister to eat lunch and that I won't be home. She said she needed to go be with him, and I kind of flipped out on her and said that she doesn't need to be with him and could literally go see him at home the next day or something. She threw a fit and called me cruel for forcing her to leave Anthony by himself since she's all he has and that I was making her look bad. She also said my appointment with mom and sister wasn't as important as a chemo session, but I decided to leave and end the argument. She ended up staying at home, but kept ignoring me when I got back, calling me selfish for not letting her be there to support Anthony with what he's going through. Some of her girlfriends think I'm being a controlling jerk, with no consideration for Anthony and what he's going through. Am I the a-hole? Yes, the a-hole. Your son should be a higher priority than you going to lunch or hanging with your friends. Also, chemo is hell. Nobody should have to go through it alone. If Anthony has only your wife for support, so be it. Yes, the a-hole. You just conveniently can only see your friends on days that Anthony has chemo treatments? Why can't you plan around them if they're pretty regular? It's no different than if it was your wife's family member. Also, why can't your kid come with you to see their grandma and aunt? You are the tiniest bit inconvenienced by all of this. Meanwhile, somebody very important to your wife has cancer, and you're mad at her for spending time with them. You sound jealous and petty.